Did I tell you he's going to paint me?
In the nude? Oh, don't tell me. I thought for a moment. No.
Welcome to episode 50 of the Columbo podcast, where to celebrate this landmark, this podcast sitting has been taken in the nude.
Well, half of the team are.
How are we, Ian?
Warm.
Are you?
Well, warmer than you anyway.
Yeah, that's because I've got cold blood.
Like a lizard.
Apart from that, Ian, apart from the shock.
And awe, I would say.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. Excited, we're doing number 50.
Yeah, it does seem like a bit of a landmark.
Yeah. I'm never sure, is this the landmark or is it 52 when we hit a year's worth of one a week?
Yeah, both kind of.
A
double
twice.
peak.
Exciting.
Although it does certainly feel like we're on the way back down the other side of the mountain.
Yeah, but there's still things to do other than the remaining episodes. We'll
Like what?
come up with some specials.
Will we?
I'm sure we will.
Before we delve into the meat of the episode, Ian, what is your general opinion?
I am more favourably than not inclined towards it, I would say. I do like the episodes where they take their time setting up the killing. I mentioned that last week.
An awful lot of time. I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was the longest until Columbo's proper appearance. Obviously, we meet him right at the very start, but
Yeah.
if the reason for that, I presume, is because it would have taken such a long time to introduce him if we had left it.
Yeah, well, there's a tangled web to weave ahead of that.
Yes, it's an unusual situation we find ourselves in, isn't it?
Yeah. Shall we get the summary out of the way and we can dive into it a bit more?
Yeah, sure.
In Murder, a Self-Portrait, we meet artist Max Barsini, a man with huge talent and a rather unconventional lifestyle. He lives with his second wife, Vanessa, and his current model, Julie. His ex-wife, Louise, lives next door and is to all extents and purposes a part of the household. That is, until she reveals her intention to move away with Dr. Sidney Hammer, her former psychologist. Fearing that her knowledge of a past crime could be revealed when she leaves his control, Max acts quickly. He murders her by using paint stripper to knock her out, then carrying her out to sea where she drowns. There are reasons to believe this accident was not as it seems, and Columbo investigates in between portrait sittings with Barsini. As both men complete their work, however, will it be the lieutenant or the artist who produces the pièce de résistance?
Thank you, Ian. You used the word unconventional
I did.
in the summary, and it certainly was an unconventional episode in many ways.
Sure.
Did you like that? We've talked in the past about how when the formula and the structure changes, it's not always for the best of the episode.
Yeah, it was very specific. I mean, the portrait sittings changed the feel of the episode and the approach that Columbo was taking.
Mm-hmm.
Kept everything very rigid. But we did get to see him do some investigating, which I liked. I always like that. In between the chats that he had with Barsini.
Yeah.
Talking of which, Barsini, that's not very inventive.
Yeah, that's hugely lazy. So we've got an Italian in any old port called Corsini, and the writers can't be bothered thinking of another Italian name, so they change the first letter and go with Barsini.
Yeah.
We also have a character called Max, who we had a few weeks ago.
We did.
Seems just a little... I don't understand. If I was the writer, and it was my task to... How hard is it to come up with some names?
We've noticed this in the originals as well. There are some names that are reused.
Yeah.
I think we had Franklin got reused quite
Yeah.
early on in the show. And there were a couple of others as well that came back up, and you're thinking they must be doing this intentionally. It can't be that they've run out of ideas. They only know a certain number of names.
Yeah. Just seems a little odd.
It does seem like they could have done better.
Anyway, I thought that this week's killer was one of the most disgusting killers we've seen, not because of his crime per se, but his attitude.
His misogyny.
It's horrible, wasn't it? He was a disgusting individual. He reminded me of the perv or the creep last week. Oh, 2 weeks ago, sorry.
Yeah, I think he's slightly different insofar as he wasn't as pathetic as that guy.
Well, it depends how you define pathetic, isn't it? He was pathetic in many ways.
Yeah, but I mean as in feeble and unable to do anything about his weirdness.
Sure, he was a stronger character, certainly on the surface.
Appeared to be.
But I think that, that overt strength belied his, like it often does, his weakness and his insecurities.
Possibly.
Doesn't take very kindly to people leaving him or not doing his bidding.
No, it wasn't even the leaving, it was more as soon as he was challenged, he was deeply unhappy.
Mm-hmm. Although I will say that hating or despising one of the characters is it's a nice feeling. You're engaging in some way.
Well, that could well be the intention.
Of course.
It's probably written in such a way and acted in such a way to inspire. I mean, if you're ambivalent towards the killer or any character, then it makes it difficult to care.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't care about the person that got murdered.
Yes, it wasn't a criticism. We've rambled quite a bit here, Ian. We've not even started yet.
Well, we've skipped over the dramatic and dynamic opening scene.
Yes, we're at the 40th Basset Annual Hound Club Picnic or something.
I think it's Annual Basset Hound Picnic.
That's the one. And we've got some very jaunty music with dashes off this old man.
There were.
Mm-hmm. Lots of dogs and owners. Padding, isn't it?
Well, I didn't really understand the purpose of it at all. It does get brought up later in a stupid way, but...
Yeah. I think, as I said earlier, the only reason this scene was here, or the primary reason it was here, was because Columbo would not have been introduced until very much later, and it was just a way of reminding us that it's a Columbo episode.
It does get the obligatory dog scene out of the way. Every episode of the Revival's had dog in it, at least momentarily, I think.
Yeah. So we see Columbo, as mentioned, before the murder is committed, and he receives some sort of prize for dog and then chats to another owner about how loving dog is.
And then dog tries to bite him.
He does.
Shows you can't trust dogs.
You can't. We go to the beach home of Max Barsini.
We go past a number of paintings of a nude or topless women from various angles, behind, the side, underneath. And we come round and you can see her in person. She's posing for a further painting.
She is.
Not, of course, the first nude model that Columbo's featured.
No.
Remember, Columbo himself was deeply embarrassed by the young lady who we still haven't really identified from Suitable with Framing.
I must admit to being surprised, thinking back now, that Columbo was not put in that position. This episode, it was on a plate for him to be in all sorts of embarrassing situ, but nope.
They maybe felt that in last season's episode they got enough of that out of the
They
way.
overdone it, yeah. So, as you rightly said, we see a model posing for Max. Now, describe Max. Max is a world-renowned painter.
He's a very famous artist. He's not just a painter. We saw some sculptings in there
Yeah.
as well, sculptures. So I think he likes to be known as an artist rather than a painter. I think he actually says that to Columbo at one point.
Sure.
Certainly very famous.
So he's painting this young model. Now, this is Julie. I think it's worthwhile at the moment just setting up the arrangement here, the situation.
Well, I've got it set up quite nicely in my notes.
Go for it.
Max Barsini lives with Julie,
Mm-hmm.
who he's painting right now for this series of paintings.
Julie lives with Max Barsini.
Sure, they live together. And he's producing a series of paintings of her called the Vixen Sessions, which are for an exhibition. He is being assisted in setting up the exhibition by his current wife, Vanessa, who is also a financial wizard and big earner in her own right.
Yes, we get the impression that perhaps she looks after the business side of his work.
She is his second wife because the three women, Julie, Vanessa, and Louise, who I'm about to mention, all essentially stay with Max. Louise technically has the house next door, but she's very much part of this family.
You get the feeling that she is a key and is able to come and go as she pleases, or as Max pleases.
Perhaps. Anyway, it's a very open, or each relationship is open insofar as it encompasses the others.
Yeah, it's an odd setup.
I would say so.
Very bohemian, but it's never going to end well, is it?
Yeah, and I don't think it's based on Love's Young Dream either. I think it's a very self-indulgent arrangement on Max's part.
Very. This young model, Julie, they discuss sleeping together, and she asks him if he loves her. He says yes. She wants more, or a confirmation that it's more than just for her body. I don't think she gets that immediately.
No, he doesn't commit to anything really at this stage.
He then tells her to go to her room. He
Yeah.
has a wife to attend to. The way he speaks to the females in this episode is why I said he's a repulsive creature.
Yeah, it's very... I mean, it's almost exaggerated.
It's a caricature.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is because the writing is poor writing, or whether this character is meant to be playing a caricature, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, is it just an accidental caricature?
Could just be stylised, yeah.
Yeah. In any case, Julie queries if the wife he's referring to is wife 1 or 2, and he says it's all the same as he leaves for downstairs.
Where Vanessa's waiting for him.
Yes.
She's not happy.
No. She greets another woman, and this is Louise, who lives next door.
The ex-wife.
The ex-wife. Slightly older woman.
Yeah.
So you've got three generations here. The first wife, Louise, is maybe in her 50s?
I think she's ages with Max. I think they were together when he wasn't famous.
Yes.
He got famous while they were married.
And Vanessa, the current wife, is probably 10, 15 years younger.
Something like that.
And then you've got Julie, who is maybe early 20s.
If that, yeah.
Vanessa reminds Max that the New York gallery needs his paintings of Julie very shortly. And then she leaves. And he continues to flirt with Louise before Julie joins in.
Yeah. Obviously didn't go to her room.
No, at this point I've noted he's far too much going on. It's just there's too many, even though it's open, it's not a discreet affair. But what a headache this would be.
The logistics of it are baffling.
Yeah.
Unless the three of them just submit to him unconditionally, which is hard to believe given the way they behave in the episode, then he is going to be finding himself pulled in a variety of different directions.
He certainly is. We end up in the dining room later that evening.
They all eat together like a happy family.
Yes.
But he's the only one that looks even a little bit happy.
They sit down and they seem quite pleased and delighted to be serving him his food and in his company. The thing that annoys me here, they keep referring to this chupato or chupetto, this dish. It's mentioned a few times.
It's an Italian dish. It's been in a previous episode.
Yeah, it's Italian-American. It's not a proper Italian dish.
Is it?
No, I looked it up. It's from San Francisco.
Okay. It's something that he seems to be dunking bread in anyway.
Yeah. The constant reference to it grates with me a little bit.
Is it like an Italian stew type
It's a fish.
thing? Is it a fish?
Like a fish broth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tomatoey.
Yeah.
Chupino.
Chupino, that's the one.
There's not much chat around the table.
No. Max is a condescending beep of a man. He basically demands of them to chatter like sparrows. That's the phrase he uses.
He's just ordering them around like they have no free will of their own.
Yeah, and he commands them to tell each other what they think of each other.
Yeah, each one to say what they genuinely feel about the other two, as if this has never come up before.
It's like cockfighting.
It's almost like, please me.
Mm-hmm. But it's not just please me. What he's saying is, I want you to insult. Because he must know how they think of each other.
Yeah.
So he's egging them on to antagonise each other.
Yeah.
It's a horrible way to act.
Although Julie does seem to like Louise.
Yeah. Well, I think I've taken a few notes here, but it's not sure how important it is. Julie apparently likes Louise like a mother, but doesn't get on with Vanessa. And Vanessa feels threatened by Julie, but claims to be indispensable to Max. And she understands that Louise is part of Max's life that he's never going to give up.
Yeah, both of those situations frighten her.
Mm-hmm. Louise doesn't believe that Julie knows what a monster Max is, and knows that Vanessa is, or fears or believes that Vanessa is suffering in fear of ending up with nothing. That perhaps, I think Vanessa is in the weakest position. Louise is the mother figure. She's been there from the start, and he's not after a lot from her in the physical sense, certainly.
It's never really investigated.
No, but Julie is obviously the one that's catching his eye at this time. And, well, I suppose, Vanessa's got the business sense, but...
He managed before she showed up.
Yeah, and if a business manager, you could employ a business manager.
The other thing Louise mentions is that she thinks Vanessa wanted what she refers to as the diamond tiara of being called Mrs. Max Barsini.
Yes. So
This makes me think of one of those logic puzzles where you've got boxes. So you cross-reference it. Julie doesn't like Vanessa, but Vanessa doesn't like Louise. So if you put a cross in that box, that means we can rule out Miss Scarlet.
in any case, he takes Julie upstairs to complete the painting that he was working on earlier.
Yes.
Now, I've said how much of a horrible character I think that Max Barsini is. He was played fantastically by Patrick Bosho. He was born in 1938 in Brussels. He has been in Secretary, The Pretender, Panic Room, and Castle recently. He is married to Brigitte Bardot's sister.
There you go.
And we mentioned there's a connection to Sex and the Married Detective. Apparently, this chap here was the favourite to land the role of Jean-Luc Picard that Stephen Macht also was in the running for.
It's quite interesting because it's around about this time that Star Trek Next Generation started. In fact, almost exactly this time.
Do you think that he would be better than Stephen Macht in the role?
It's hard when he's playing such a nasty sort of guy, but he does it well, so you could maybe see it, yeah. Okay.
We head back to the studio. Max is in there alone, and he's angered to hear a male voice outside say goodnight to Louise, and he sees him place a bag in his trunk. So he runs downstairs to confront someone. Who is it?
It's Dr. Sidney Hammer.
Yes, it's MD Hammer, who can't be touched.
It's Tumbleweed.
Yeah.
Just drifting by here.
So who is MD Hammer?
He's a psychiatrist.
Psychologist.
That trope was used one time too many, and has been used one time too many in this podcast as well. He previously worked with Louise on her mental state and has since ceased to be a client-doctor relationship and is now a physical and emotional relationship.
Yes. And Hammer advises that Max discuss with Louise why he was treating her before driving off in disgust.
He doesn't care for Max.
No, I think he hates him because he knows what type of a person he is and he knows how he treats women.
And I think in particular Louise.
Of course, who he's obviously very fond of.
Yeah, which makes something that happens later a little bit odd, but we'll come to that.
A couple of things, yeah. I'm sure it's the same point that you're going to touch on. We're now in Louise's house.
That's right.
And she has news for Max.
She has. She uses the phrase, "Spell's broken, Max. I'm all grown up."
What's happening?
She's leaving to live with Dr. Hammer.
She explains why. She says that he's a heart like a jackhammer. And then...
Max can't accept that it's hammer time.
No. And she hints at an incident from the past that they both wish would remain a secret.
Spell's broken, Max. I'm all grown up. Look. Dead steady. Not a tremor. Easy as pie.
Rubbish. You belong to me.
I belong to me.
But not to him. Louise. Louise. Don't leave me.
Max, I've been vanishing for months. You never noticed.
That's because you never loved me in the first place.
Oh, didn't I? How many other women would have done what I did? When you did what you...
What did I do, Louise?
We never talk about that. I made myself believe it never happened. We both believe it never happened.
And Sidney? When he pokes around your head, do you ever speak about what has never happened?
No.
Louise, when you swim in your secret place, just by yourself, do you wonder then if you'll ever tell?
You're hurting me, Max.
Remember the pain, Louise. And then remember the word never. Never. Don't go with him, Louise. Stay with me.
There was a touch of the Hannibal Lecter, I thought there. You know, when you referred to her swimming in her secret place.
It was really weird in the music.
Yeah, there was a distinct use of the score in this episode, along with different effects. Did you like the music?
I didn't hate it. I thought it fit okay with the story.
Mm-hmm. I think it does stand out. You do notice it.
But it wasn't jarring.
No. So Max, he leaves, and we can see that Louise is clearly shaken.
Yes.
This has been a big emotional wrench for her. She's finally stood up to the monster.
Yeah, we get a very brief scene where he seems to be thinking to himself and going over things that have been said before.
Yeah. Louise, you probably have recognised the actress.
Yes?
I don't mean in Columbo, I just mean she's been in a lot of things.
I did. She had a very familiar looking face. I think I recognise her.
She was played by Fionnuala O'Flanagan, who was born in Dublin in 1941, an Emmy winner and a Tony nominee. She's been in The Guard, Defiance, Lost, Murder, She Wrote, Star Trek Enterprise and Star Trek Next Generation.
I do remember her face from The Next Generation.
She was also in one of the Murder, She Wrote TV movie specials. There's been 4 of them, and I think she was in the one, I think it's called Celtic Riddle or something like that,
Right.
set in Ireland. It's actually not. It's one of these ones where Hollywood pretends it's Ireland,
Okay.
but you can quite clearly tell that it's just been shot in America somewhere.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
It's like Dagger,
Yeah.
when they faked up Big Ben and Buckingham Palace and stuff.
Where do we go next, Ian?
Well, this is interesting because in Now You See Him, we saw Mike Lally getting to play a character with the same name as himself
Yes.
in his final Columbo appearance. And the same honour is afforded to Vito Scotti here.
It certainly is, and it's certainly very well deserved. Vito Scotti, as we've discussed before, is a favourite of ours, I think.
He's been really good every time he's been in the show.
His roles, they're charming.
Yes. Whether they're eccentric or underplayed, this one wasn't quite as eccentric as some.
No. You can watch him, it's something that just draws the eyes. It's quite relaxing.
What's your favourite Vito Scotti moment in Columbo?
I'd have to say the shorts, there's been a few, but I can't remember the character's name, but the Undertaker in Swan Song.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he's trying to sell the death plan to Columbo.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's got his own bar now, Vito.
Yes.
A bar restaurant,
yeah.
perhaps even a hotel, maybe a few rooms.
Well, no, I don't think so. I think maybe that studio was converted for Max and Louise in the past, and it doesn't appear to have been used since, because there was still kind of old paint on the floor, and the water didn't run and so on.
We see Vito, he puts off a customer. There's this guy having a drink at the bar who recognises Barsini.
Yep.
And wants to go up and talk to him or get his autograph or whatever. And Vito,
Yep.
he persuades him not to, suggests that it's not in his best interest.
Max appreciates this.
And as you said, we find out that Max and Louise used to live in the room upstairs, the studio upstairs, when he was a struggling artist with not much money.
Yeah. Max is very grateful for this intercession and makes an offer.
He does, which is...
He's going to offer him money to make high-tech upgrades.
Vito says, no, I don't want money. So what's his second suggestion?
He's going to paint him a genuine Barsini original.
And Vito is absolutely delighted with this.
Oh, he's bouncing off the
Yeah,
walls.
I'd rather have the cash.
Yeah, but I assume Max knew that Vito wouldn't take the cash, because otherwise it undermines his...
True.
Unless his plan wasn't fully formed at this stage.
Yeah. But also, it doesn't take him very long to paint this. It's basically just a production line, isn't it? It's a factory. It takes about a day or so.
Oh, he goes home and does it that night, doesn't he?
Yeah. So how good is this guy? He's either very, very good or his stuff's not that great.
Well, he is.
I'm sure these
famous
great
Barsini Red.
these great artists don't just whack out one overnight, do they?
Get a bit messy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So he takes a sketch before he leaves.
Yes, and he tells him that he's going to start tomorrow. And this is the thing that I know that really I thought was quite amusing. He says he'll start tomorrow and he has to close the place whilst he does this. Okay, he doesn't want anyone bothering him. He doesn't want any distractions.
Yep.
So, your business, bit quiet, yeah. I'll give you some money. No, I'll paint you a picture. Tell you what, close down your bar for the day.
That's it.
Deny you custom. So it defeats the purpose a little bit.
Well, not if the painting's worth more than a day's takings.
But what's he going to do? Sell the painting?
I don't know. You could insure it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And hope it gets nicked.
As they chat, Vito then shows Max an old picture on the wall with himself, with Max and Louise and a third person.
Yeah, it turns out to be his first art agent.
Yes, an art dealer by the name of Harry Churnow.
Yeah, he doesn't appear in this episode, but there must be an actor credited with playing him because he's in the photos.
Yes, there is. There are credits in the in IMDb.
There you go.
And they ponder whatever happened to him.
Yes, I wonder.
So Max heads up to Vito's studio to see his old room.
He has a wee scout around, susses out the window at the back.
Yeah, he opens the window and reveals a fire escape down to the street.
You could leave that way.
You certainly could. And he looks down into the bar, and as you mentioned, he starts to sketch an outline of Vito with a patron.
That's it.
And then we see him next in his own studio.
Yeah.
And he's beginning the painting.
He seems to be, and Vanessa arrives and asks what he's doing.
Yes, he covers this up.
Well, he says he's finishing off the painting of Julie.
Yeah, she wishes to be quite intimate, but he essentially puts her off and ushers her out.
Yeah, she makes it clear that she used to be one of his models.
And she could still pull it off if required.
If necessary. He's not interested though.
He's not.
He's got a plan.
So we're back at Vito's.
Yeah, he appears to be starting on the painting, which seems a bit odd as we just saw him more of the way through it moments earlier.
Yes. And he insists to Vito that no one disturb him.
Vito is so excited.
He's very eager, isn't he? He's like a little schoolboy.
Yeah, and he's told, you're not coming in here under any circumstances or I will kill you.
Pretty much.
Was it kill you? Is that what he threatens to do?
Yeah, stab him.
Something like that.
And Max then leaves for the beach via a window with a bag containing a rag and some paint cleaner.
Unbeknown to Vito, who thinks he's still working away.
Of course. So we're now at this beach, this cove.
Yep, Louise is there by herself.
Sunbathing.
And Max shows up.
Yeah.
And she wants him to leave.
She does. But he uses some of his old charm and gets her to lie down and close her eyes as he chats away to her.
That's right. And she agrees that they shouldn't separate on bad terms.
Mm-hmm.
They can have a chat, and he says, then we'll swim and part as friends.
They won't.
No, because as soon as she lies back and closes her eyes,
he knocks her out, I think.
I think, yeah, it's kind of a chloroform substitute, isn't it?
Yeah.
A stripper of some kind on his cloth, and then we don't see her die, but he carries her into the sea, and we assume leaves her to drown whilst unconscious.
Correct. And we're back at Vito's, and we have a trope here.
Yeah, it's the standard will he be there.
And of course, initially we don't see him.
We saw this as recently as last week's episode.
Yes.
Although, albeit it's the start of a new season, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he is there. Max is there, and the painting is finished, believe it or not.
Very, very quick.
Vito has come storming in despite the warnings because he simply cannot wait any longer. It's been too long and he has to serve food.
A few hours, it's been overnight.
In any event, his alibi is established because he must have been there painting the whole day.
Yeah. We return to the beach and it's now the crime scene.
Max is there. He's been called to identify the body.
Yes, lots of onlookers, and he does ID the body to a uniformed cop. And he does identify the body to a uniformed cop.
Yeah, we should note this is a different part of the beach from where we last saw him.
She must have been moved by the sea or the tide or whatever.
Yeah. But he is taken back to the cove now to see Columbo,
Yes.
who is acting strangely.
What's he doing?
Feeding the seagulls.
Yeah. Seagulls, really? They're water rats. Don't encourage them to be at the beach.
I would say more sky rats than water rats.
Yeah, that's true.
Vermin of the air. Anyway.
There's another little tinkle off this old man.
And we get another trope.
Which is?
Columbo is thrilled to meet such a famous and wonderful painter.
Of course, him and his wife, Mrs. Columbo.
Big fans.
Massive fans.
They've read all his stuff.
Yeah, looked at all his paintings.
That's it, they looked at every picture and
Yep.
a couple of air vents as well.
Mm-hmm. Max immediately details his alibi, which is too obvious, I thought.
Yeah, this is the next day, right?
The next day from...
When he took her into the sea.
Yeah, I think so.
How is her stuff still lying on the beach, stone dry?
Well, it's a private little alcove or cove, isn't
Tide
it?
doesn't come in?
Maybe it's the same day.
How can it be the same day? He's finished his painting and spoken to Vito.
The painting was always finished.
So we're saying the painting only took him half a day?
I painted it the previous night.
I know, but from Vito's perspective.
Oh, Vito's an old drunk who doesn't know anything.
I mean, it would have to be later the same day. Otherwise the tide would have come in and soaked and washed away her stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, her stuff is still there. Must be the same day. And Columbo has some questions.
Yes. He first asks about Louise's swimming ability, and Max confirms that she was excellent.
Yeah, strong swimmer.
Columbo, however, has another problem.
You see this, sir? This is one of those double boxes for contact lenses. And here, right here, there's the other lens, sir. I don't understand. Well, neither do I. Mrs. Barsini, she was going to go out to the ocean, and she took one lens out, but she kept the other one in her eye. Why would she do a thing like that? A whim? Forgetfulness? Maybe an interruption. Anxiety to plunge into the sea? Well, the evidence boys are going to look around, but don't you worry, sir. It'll all be explained. Now, if you'll just drive your wife's car, I'll follow along. There'll be a few more questions, sir, if you don't mind.
Not at all. In a manner of speaking, Lieutenant, we both enjoy the same talent.
I don't know how that could be, sir.
We both know how to see the world. Truly see. The contact lenses, it's remarkable.
Oh, I'm just doing my job, sir. I think you're going a little far comparing me with you. But it was very nice of you to say so. And I'm going to tell that to my wife.
This annoys me.
Why?
Not even down to bad planning by the killer, it's just bad luck.
What's bad luck?
That she had one contact lens in at the moment he showed up.
Yeah. We can discuss later the clues and the gotchas, but yeah, it's not the strongest episode with regards to that.
It almost seems like, oh, what kind of clue? Oh, we'll have to fix something. Oh, contact lens. It's not like the one where someone had contact lenses and glasses on. Was that in...
That was in
Case of Immunity?
Yes, and also with a contact lens clue in Death Lends a Hand, the brimmer at the back of his car, the wife.
The missing contact lens that Columbo planted.
Yes. Contact lenses have played pivotal roles.
Both
before.
of those were much better.
Oh, yes.
Than this one, which just seems almost shoehorned in as a convenient clue for Columbo to find.
Yeah, it's a weak episode in those terms. Columbo asks Max to follow him back, to drive Louise's car and follow him back to his house. He's got more questions. And is unsettled to see Vanessa and him kiss passionately as soon as he arrives.
Yeah, Columbo hasn't quite picked up that Louise was the ex-wife.
No. Also maybe to do with the fact that Max is kissing his real-life wife.
That must annoy him. You would think.
Maybe not. Maybe he
it's only acting, but he never gets to do it.
What?
He never gets to... His character doesn't get to go and kissing folk.
That's true. But maybe Peter Falk likes to watch his wife kiss other people.
Well...
Or did like to.
Maybe he likes the performance she delivers. That's why he keeps casting her.
Mm-hmm.
Thought she did quite a good job in this episode.
She did, yeah.
I don't get the overwhelming unhappiness when her name gets mentioned.
No, I think she always is fine. Fine to good.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly from what we've seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
He also, Columbo notices here, 2 neighbouring letterboxes, both marked Barsini.
Yes. And he is further shocked by Max's embrace of Julie on the beachfront before they walk off together.
He is, and Max is essentially ignoring Columbo at this point, he's just walking off.
Yeah, again, it's really odd, isn't it? Oh, I suppose if you've lost your a friend, an ex-wife, then you're not really thinking about, I better stay here and...
Well, the police officers asked him to drive the car back because he has more questions. And when he gets back, he just blazes on past him and doesn't speak and keeps going.
Well, that's Columbo's fault, really, isn't it? He should be...
I suppose making himself...
Yeah, telling him
unavoidable.
To stay where he is and not move.
He does say, "Holy cow."
Yeah.
That's like something like Batman. Vanessa takes the time to explain to Columbo that it's an open marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope she's sticking to fictional terms here.
Well, each to their own, each to their own. We go into Louise's house and Columbo meets MD Hammer, who reveals that he planned living with Louise and describes the unhealthy relationship that he was treating her for. Now, is this one of the issues you mentioned earlier?
Yes.
He doesn't seem in any way upset.
No, he's just annoyed.
Yeah. He seems, a little bit annoyed. Like, put out, like, this isn't, I could be doing without this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not in any way a convincing portrait of grief. I know everybody experiences grief in their own way. We've talked about this. We shouldn't criticise characters because it could just be an unconventional grieving process, but he genuinely does not seem that bothered.
No. Like, show some sort of emotion.
Max shows up,
He does.
and Sydney immediately leaves. It's not yet
Hammer. It's not Hammer time, but he really doesn't. He despises this.
He
this
couldn't
person.
even be in the room with him. He had
No.
to get out. He does play that part of the role well, the actor.
Yes. Max tries to sidetrack Columbo by offering to paint his portrait.
Yeah, and Columbo's thrilled and accepts the offer.
Yes, he can't wait to tell the wife. And this subterfuge appears to have worked as Columbo goes to leave, but he has a one more thing.
Yeah. He asks Max whether Louise took her contacts out to swim.
And what did he say?
He says no, but I suspect he's just making it up.
Sure.
He also asks Max about where he was, what his alibi is.
And he explains that he was at Vito's and he describes where the bar is.
Absolutely.
So Columbo is going to make an appearance at some point.
Yeah.
We're back in Max's studio.
Yeah, we're seeing what happens when you take Louise out of the four-way equation.
Yes, Vanessa and Julia are having a fight over who is the most important and who is going to win out in the end.
Yeah, it's not very... I'm not sure what the best word is. It doesn't put either of them in the best light. They don't come across well.
No, Max interrupts him and chastises him for not considering his feelings.
Yeah, he's not got much in the way of empathy for these women.
He tells him to go and cook and clean for him. In Louise's memory.
It's ridiculous.
I've just wrote here, this guy is a beep.
An absolute beep.
So, we're off to Dr. Hammer's.
It's now Hammer time.
You can't touch this.
Stop. Columbo is reading... Is it reading? I don't know if reading's the right word.
No.
Looking at Barsini nude.
He's got the trope again, isn't he? He's moving at 360 degrees and having a good old squint.
This is the second time in recent episodes he's looked at erotic art.
Well, the conspirator, or conspirators. He was in the bookstore.
5 weeks ago. Well, 10 years
11 years.
whatever, but yeah, 5 episodes ago.
So he's meeting with Mr. Hammer.
Hammer seems confused.
He doesn't seem upset in the slightest.
But he also seems to think Columbo wants to be treated for something.
Yes, it's like, no, this is an investigation into your partner's death. What do you think?
Perhaps he's just become completely detached and unhinged. He just cannot cope with the grief.
Does he think this is a remarkable coincidence that the detective that is investigating this death also happens to want to use my services for his personal use?
I
At the same
wonder if
time,
this is his grief. It's showing in a lack of logical thought. He's unable to comprehend what's happening.
possibly.
And Columbo has to spell it out.
Yes. So Hammer confirms that in addition to treating Louise due to Max's behaviour, she also suffered from nightmares.
Yeah, he seems to think because she's dead, she's forfeited any right to confidentiality. I'm not sure if that's the rule, and it certainly shouldn't be.
No, but I suppose if you're helping the detective trying to get to the bottom of it, and she's also your partner.
But she's also no longer able to consent to release of the information.
Yeah, I think in that case then it's fine.
You think it is?
I'm not sure what the law is, but I thought so. A murder investigation, she can't say no, so what?
I would have thought a court order maybe required or some kind of warrant for the information. In any event, we skip over that and we get the revelation that she was repressing something.
Yes. Not only that, and fortuitously for Columbo, there are tapes of the sessions that not sessions, these were recordings she made when she woke up after nightmares, and there are 3 tapes.
This is the bit I had the biggest problem with, because this guy cares so much about her, is her partner, is going to live with her, is worried about her mental state, but I can't really remember these nightmares that she kept having. There's something about knocking a door.
Yeah, that's a fair point. These tapes, we'll discuss them one by one as they come up, but dearie me, they're not subtle, are they?
Let's wait till they come up, because
Okay.
we can't preempt this.
Okay. While we're discussing MC Hammer
Stop.
time, he was played by George Coe. He died
George Cole?
Not George Cole. George Coe,
Okay.
who died in July this year, aged 86.
That was George Cole.
Round about the same sort of time.
Yeah.
He was in Minder. No, he wasn't. He died in July 2015, aged 86. He was Oscar nominated in 1969 for The Dove, a prolific voice actor. He was very recently starring in Archer. Yeah. Star Wars, Transformers, a lot of Star Wars stuff, the animated or whatever it is series. He acted in Curb Your Enthusiasm, The West Wing, Murder, She Wrote, LA Law, Matlock, Hill Street Blues, and Star Trek Next Generation.
There you go.
He was one of the original cast members for the first 3 episodes of Saturday Night Live.
Talented man, it seems.
Yeah, I think so.
Columbo appears to have found Vito's.
Yes, who proudly shows Columbo his new painting.
Columbo smudges the painting immediately.
He does.
Although that's good for Max, because it shows that it was wet paint.
Mm-hmm. And then Columbo goes on to explain some of the newly acquired knowledge that he has regarding Barsini, and he tells him about the special Barsini red.
He explains that there's a special ingredient that only Barsini uses, so nobody else has this red.
Then Max appears and is annoyed that Columbo has touched the still wet painting.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's quite good for Max because it shows that it wasn't one that he did a long time ago and brought along.
Yes. Max is also insulted that Columbo is asking questions, but Columbo tries to pacify him by telling him it's just for his report. That's
probably verging on being a trope as well, I would say.
Yeah.
It's all about the paperwork, or my superiors are insisting, it's just for my report, as an excuse to ask questions.
Indeed. He then asks him about the nightmares, and Max denies any knowledge.
Yeah, he says maybe it's repressed memories, but he really has no idea.
Columbo then notes the photograph and mentions the tapes that he has acquired.
He does.
Now this must concern Max, because this is the reason why he killed Louise.
Because Max doesn't know what's on the tapes.
Well, yeah, he doesn't know yet, but he...
I suppose he would be concerned in case it was something like that. Mm-hmm. But yes, because remember he asked Hammer what Louise had been consulting him about. He doesn't know what she was talking to him about, so he probably has this concern that it's a confession.
Yeah, but he again tries to deflect the situation or put Columbo off by talking about the painting, his portrait, and tells him he's going to start with him tomorrow morning, first thing.
Yep. You don't get the impression that Barsini really wants to paint Columbo, but he's kind of backed himself into this now.
Yes. Max leaves with a painting and his work bag, and Columbo asks to go up to the studio.
Just before he goes up, though, he talks to Vito about Max Chudnow.
Mm-hmm.
He gets a bit of knowledge.
Which is?
That he was the agent and worked closely with Max when he was emerging as an artist.
And Vito, I think a few times in this episode, does a little impersonation of Harry, which is quite nice.
So I've written Max Chudnow, apologies.
Yeah, Harry Chudnow. So Columbo goes upstairs.
Yeah, and it's dirty.
Yes.
It looks like nobody's been there, which obviously raises his suspicions.
He tries to run a faucet, a tap, to remove a mark that he's got on his jacket from the painting.
And just sludge that comes out.
So they don't work. Very important.
And the note I've made there is maybe impossible to clean brushes.
Yes. We're back to Max's home. Max begs Julie to try and get on with Vanessa.
I wouldn't say he begs, he tells her.
Okay.
He's giving an instruction. He doesn't think he respects her enough to ask her.
That's
kindly.
True. Yes. She refuses and gets angry, and I think she storms off.
Well, they yell at each other. There's clearly frayed...
There's tension, isn't there?
Edges going on here, yeah.
Columbo appears with Dog for his sitting.
Yes, and he's told Dog's not allowed in.
No, so Columbo tells Dog to wait outside.
But he doesn't, he just comes in.
Columbo then admires the nudes in the studio and inspects immediately. This is like Columbo magic here, isn't it? He immediately focuses on the rag and the paint cleaner.
Well, no, he spots the rag and paint cleaner because he wants to clean the paint off his jacket.
Yeah, but still, it just so happens that the thing that he needs is the murder weapon.
Yeah, I suppose. Max comes in and asks him what he's doing, and he says he's just trying to deal with this stain, and Max tells him to go away and sit down.
So he sits and Max poses Columbo.
Yeah, he puts him in the position he wants.
And Max asks Columbo about the nightmares.
Columbo's got the tape with him of the first one.
Yes, which he plays. And we have a very unusual dream sequence. Well, tell me what happens in this.
The door to Vito's knocks and Louise is running to answer it. We see Barsini and Columbo in the background with the portrait being painted as if it's incidental to the dream. And uncle is there, but she doesn't know him. She doesn't actually have an uncle. And I can't remember exactly what happens, but it's all kind of unusual. She's getting scared, and Max shows up and beats her uncle and crushes him to death with a pick.
No.
Is that
it's
right?
a meat cleaver the first time.
A meat cleaver the first
He
time.
hacks at him with a meat cleaver.
Meat cleaver.
So after this tape is played describing this, Max and Columbo then try to decipher its meaning.
But what does it all mean?
Perhaps nothing at all. Just an attack of indigestion.
Oh, I doubt that, sir. A recurring dream, a puzzle inside a riddle.
A crossword puzzle in a mirror.
A French uncle, what does that stand for?
A Dutch uncle.
Monkey's uncle.
But Louise had no uncle.
None at all, sir?
None. No uncle.
Then we have to consider this. Maybe everything's all reversed.
A reversed uncle?
The uncle stands for the aunt.
No aunts either.
Well, what was the uncle looking for? What was missing?
What indeed?
Everything upside down, sir. Maybe your wife lost something.
Perhaps her red nightgown.
Or maybe you lost something. When you were living in Vito, something you lost, something stolen.
In those days, nothing to lose, nothing to steal.
Then there's the French part.
And the uncle who isn't an uncle.
This is really interesting.
An impossible dream code.
Suppose we tried this, sir. What's the French word for uncle?
That would be oncle.
And my uncle would be mon uncle.
Exactly, mon oncle.
Mon uncle, mon uncle. That sounds like the word for monocle, doesn't it, sir?
Far-fetched, Lieutenant.
Mrs. Barsini's nightmare, the thing that frightened her so much? Could that have something to do with the man in the photograph in Vito's bar? The man with the monocle. That would be Harry Chudnow?
Your position, please.
I expected Columbo to begin the next scene with a Technicolor raincoat.
Yeah. Oh dear, that's very good, Ian. It's gibberish.
Garbage.
Garbage.
Is a better word,
I don't think that that's how dreams and understanding dreams work at all. I don't think
No.
my uncle,
My uncle, mon uncle, Benghazi. No.
It's garbage. All these clues are so, it's terrible.
It was just diabolical. It was not. It didn't only undermine the entire investigation.
Mon uncle. That's how your mind would work. I'll call him the French for. he wears one eyeglass. So what's the French for that? Oh yeah, my uncle. Go away.
Meat cleaver. Meat cleaver. Lever. You pulled a trapdoor.
Unilever. It was some big corporation.
You pulled the trapdoor in the corporation and you killed your wife.
Yeah, it's terrible, and it gets worse.
It does.
So Columbo suggests that this could have something to do with Harry Chudnow contrived this anything, but Max says that Louise hardly knew him, so he's trying to dismiss it.
What you could also say is, don't be so stupid.
Yeah, this is nonsense. What, you're a detective, really?
And Columbo, well, I don't know what to say.
He heads off to the beach, and he speaks with the lifeguard, who reveals that Louise was a terrific swimmer, so much so that she passed the lifeguard test at the same time as he did.
Yeah, they were both very strong swimmers, and he agrees that Louise drowning unilaterally is unlikely.
However, has there been an autopsy here? Because
It's not mentioned.
anyone can, she might have had, she's not a young, it doesn't matter what age you are, but she's in her, maybe her 50s or so. She could have had a heart attack. She could have passed out. Because you're a strong swimmer doesn't mean to say that you can't die in the water.
Does he turn or something? Yep.
Of course. We then have a very quick scene of Max replaying the conversations in his mind.
Yeah, it's the second time we've had this. It doesn't add anything.
No, I don't like it. We're back to the beach later. And
We've got two different conversations layered together here.
yeah, it's Columbo talking with Julie and Columbo talking with Vanessa.
Separately.
Yes. And they're talking about Louise.
They are.
What do we find out in these two conversations?
I didn't note down anything of interest.
Okay. Apparently Louise was a calm person and she was not jealous of Julie. And then Vanessa tells him that she was not aware either that Louise had a lover and that they are both the type who would bottle things up and not complain.
Doesn't really seem to add anything.
Well, not really, but I suppose it does if you're repressing things. It's describing the character who would not talk but would bottle it up.
Sure.
And it would come out in their dreams as a man with a pair of glasses.
Or an uncle.
A uncle.
Mononcle. What's Spanish for mononcle?
It's dreadful. Truly dreadful.
Why did he go to French?
It's Harry Chudno.
Chudno, a man with chewing gum in today's society.
Just looking at Harry Chudno, his name and his appearance makes me feel less sympathetic towards him. He looks like sort of wee guy who could be cleavered to death. Anyway.
Yeah, that's probably a bit harsh.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. So
it's hammer time.
Yeah. We're back at the beach again, and Columbo and Dog meet with. You're right. Yeah, it's MC, who is uncomfortable probably because it's illegal, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
About giving Columbo the tapes.
He has some ethical concerns, but not enough to act ethically. Yes,
he tries to reassure him, and eventually he hands him over to this guy, Columbo,
who turns out also to be a vet psychologist.
He does. Why? How do we know this?
Because Columbo asks why Dog tried to bite him.
Mm-hmm. At the hound party.
At the start of the show. This is where we're tied back in. And almost ludicrously is advised that Dog was jealous.
Mm-hmm. And Columbo thinks to himself, jealous.
Mon uncle.
I've got it. Eureka. And this is a weird thing. He leaves Hammer and he tells him that if anything comes of this, he will be the first to know. That's normally the line that's delivered to the killer.
Yeah.
So if I was Hammer, and I'm thinking, I've heard about this guy Columbo, he always gets his man. I've read a few books and watched the TV show. Oh no, he thinks it's me. Oh no, and he thinks it's me. That's what I'd be thinking. If Columbo ever turned up at my door, he'd just questioning me, I'd be thinking, am I the guy? Am I the one who's... This is the first time he's got it wrong. This is going to be a miscarriage of justice and they're going to believe Columbo over me. That's my...
Don't confess.
That's my...
Where's your proof, Lieutenant?
No, if I ever came across Columbo, I would just constantly say, nope, that's not the case. But you did this, and then be, nope, don't care, nope, not the case. I'm not admitting anything. Prove it, please.
Yeah. We get a mirror image now of a scene we saw earlier.
Yes, explain.
Well, earlier we saw Max telling Julie to get on with Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
And now we see Vanessa. Initially she watches Columbo and Julie walking along the beach. And then Max shows up and asks her similarly to try and get on with Julie. And similarly she refuses.
Yes, and Columbo arrives at the door to continue his sitting.
Yep.
And Max tries to justify the benefits to the woman of him having 3 wives. He says, they can't each be good at, individually they can't be good at everything.
Yeah.
So I take, the best part from each, and none of them therefore disappoint me.
And he points out that having 2 is not as rewarding.
Oh no, I mean if you're going to have more than one, you want at least 3.
3 is the key number here.
It is, it's a magic number.
Yes. Don't want 4. 4's too many.
4 would be a nightmare.
And 2 is not enough.
So they got up to this sitting, and Columbo has brought the second tape.
It might be the 3rd or the 4th. Any dream will do.
We have another dream sequence here. Now, here's the thing. Why does he sort of teases him, doesn't he? He plays these tapes at different times.
Yeah.
I'd be saying to him, Columbo, you have those tapes? Yep. Let's hear them. Come on. All at once, please.
Yeah. But he plays it during the painting. So we get into this dream vision again.
It just gets worse. It's not cryptic at all.
I wrote this one down in more detail, actually.
It's like the Addams Family.
Yeah, Max is at the door this time and he's angry.
Mm-hmm.
He lost his key and he's hungry. So she follows him upstairs and he opens some raw meat in the fridge and throws it in the sink.
Yeah.
He pours some berries in a glass. He eats the berries and invites her to join in, but she sees the meat fluttering. So she uncovers it and it's a moving hand, which makes him angry. So he smashes the glass and she wakes up. And Columbo has worked this one out. This means that there's going to be 40 years of famine, followed by 40 years of plenty.
Yes. What do the berries signify? This is worse. I think this is worse than Monocle.
Berries, bury, near
bury.
Manchester.
Yeah. But,
it's her English uncle this time.
Yeah. So the berries might mean that someone's buried under the floorboard by them one uncle. Oh, God.
And the broken glass signifies
his
I don't know.
Larry Lennox.
It was something about the I had it on the tip of my tongue. But you killed your wife.
Max is unamused and asked Columbo to leave. So would I. I'd be thinking, this is the ramblings of a maniac. Get out, please.
Yeah, I'm actually writing in my notes. Max killed a guy and 40 years of famine are on the way. He goes to look at the painting, actually. Max storms out, but then he doesn't, but he investigates the paint on the floor.
Yes, he notices that there has been a lot of paint spilled, dropped, dribbled.
Dribbled, quibbled.
Mere Quimby.
Benghazi! It's all a US government conspiracy.
So you notice all this this paint on the floor, and he heads off to Vito's.
Yes, where he examines the area where the easel had been for drips of paint on the floor.
And there's none.
Well, it looks like dried-in paint to me. Like it was,
No, I don't think there was anything there at all.
I couldn't really tell. It did look dirty, but I thought it looked to me like maybe he had painted there in the past, but there was nothing recent. But I could be wrong.
So we go to a sauna.
I thought it was at the Bersini home, but I suppose it could be.
No, I think it is a Bersini home, yeah.
Their own sauna.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're a millionaire with a plush pad, you would have a sauna, perhaps.
Yeah, and Julie says, I'm an orphan. Vanessa says, I'm a double orphan.
Don't you jump the gun there, please.
This is the best bit of the whole
As
episode.
Julie joined Vanessa in the sauna, they share a vodka. I mean, really, I'm not saying you have to be straight down the line, but drinking spirits in the
Sauna.
it's not a good. You don't do that. It's just not a good thing to do.
Asking for trouble.
It is.
But the lack of steam suggests it's not that hot a sauna at this point. And there's not much sweat on the women either.
What, are you complaining?
No, I'm just saying that it might not be that bad to drink when it's really not that hot in there.
Yeah. They then have an orphan off.
They do.
Yeah, I'm more of an orphan than you are.
I'm a double orphan. I'm a triple orphan.
Yeah.
I'm a quadruple orphan and my dog's dead too. My brother died and three of my parents are dead.
You're a jinx, that's what you are. They then apparently agree that they have to consider Max and his happiness, but very quickly come to an understanding that they should consider their own needs.
Yeah, I assumed that they were going to get into a relationship with one another at this point.
Okay, so this is you now.
Just the way the music was playing and the way they were looking at each other, I thought, I wonder if this is going
alcohol,
to be the ultimate twist.
Towels, in a sauna. They're already open to these type of things, obviously.
Well, I'm not sure that there's a direct correlation between polygamy and homosexuality.
We don't know if they enjoyed Max consecutively or concurrently.
Well, that's true. I suppose it's a possibility. I wasn't thinking of that. I just kind of thought the way that the scene was playing that they were going to kind of lean in.
Okay. I thought that this was pretty weak. You're meant to believe that Max had this control, this power over women, over these three women.
Yeah.
Who couldn't break away, didn't want to break away, wanted to serve and obey. And then you have a couple of vodkas in the sauna, and they both agree, let's ditch the guy.
Yeah, he shouldn't have left that vodka lying around.
No. It just seemed far too quick an about turn.
Yeah. We kind of jump ahead a wee bit later in the evening to see their plan play out.
Mm-hmm. Before we do, we don't need to mention the actress who played Vanessa.
We already did at the top of the show.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to give you too much more detail because it's Sherry Denise, who is, as we know, Peter Falk's, or was Peter Falk's, real-life wife. The actress who played Julie was Isabel Garcia Lorca, or Lortha. Born in 1967, she has not had much of an acting career. She was in The Nick of Time with Johnny Depp.
Okay.
Seen that one?
No.
That's quite good. She's having a baby, a favourite of mine from my youth, with Elizabeth McGovern and Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
And Star Trek Next Generation.
Interesting.
Where do we go?
It's, well, like I just said a moment ago, it's the same location but later. Their plan is going to play out.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, we go to the morgue.
Do we?
Yep.
What happens in the morgue?
Columbo takes a sample from Louise's mouth, or around her mouth area. And then,
Oh yes, the red mark.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't write it down. Yes, that happens.
And there's some small talk with the lab guy. He mentions his brother-in-law or cousin again. From there, we go to the same location. We go to Max's house.
Yes.
And he returns to find what?
They're leaving, or at least Vanessa's leaving.
Packed her bags, and Julie seems quite delighted by this.
Yep. Max is furious and throws Vanessa's bags out behind her.
Yeah, but firstly, he tries to forbid it.
Well, he tries, but he doesn't get very far.
When he realises it's not going to work, he literally throws the bags out.
Yep.
And then he tries to ingratiate himself with Julie.
She's leaving too.
Yeah, so he does the same. He
Literally throws her bags after her.
Mm-hmm.
And then Columbo shows up for another sitting.
Well, he's upstairs already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he appears.
Oh, sorry, I've got Columbo's back. Yes, he was in the room.
Mm-hmm. So we head up to the studio.
Yep, he closes every door on the way up, and we've got one more dream.
Yes, Columbo plays the third and final tape, and it describes Max with a pocket watch and him using a pickaxe on the body of a man in a cellar. I mean, yeah. Oh, you're repressing this dream, are you, Louise? What can it mean when Max kills someone with a meat cleaver and a pickaxe and hides his hands in the fridge?
And the watch is in his eye.
Yeah.
It looks like mon oncle.
Columbo again tries to decipher what the dream may mean, and he focuses on Chudnow. He has a newspaper article referring to this character cheating his artists out of money due.
Yeah, someone, not Max, another person was suing Chudnow, which proves that Max killed him.
Of course. Max seems quite nonchalant about Harry's practices.
Yeah, Columbo literally at this point divines from nowhere that Max murdered Harry Chudnow.
A 40-year-old murder case.
And he says, I can't prove that. Of course you can't prove that when you've got no evidence whatsoever.
But both seem to accept that there is nothing substantial, just dream tapes. Now, he says, I can't, what would happen if I had to dig up the cellar? Well, why doesn't he? You've got to find a body there.
If there is one.
Yeah, so...
It's not though, because it's from a dream, it's not real. Anyway, the portrait's finished.
Yeah, Columbo goes further than the accusation of killing Harry.
Oh, he does actually, yeah.
He now accuses him of killing Louise.
He's going to get into the evidence.
He asks Max how he cleaned his brushes after the bar painting, and he tells him with paint and paint cleaner and water.
He's told there's no water.
Yes, Columbo explains why this is impossible, which is...
Yeah, it was sludge, not water, so... Max is okay. He covers that one fine.
Changes his story. He says he brought them home.
He must have brought the brushes home,
Yeah.
which is fair enough, because he might have done that.
Columbo presses ahead with another issue. There was no paint on the floor or his shoes. And Max has another explanation.
Perfectly reasonable, he wasn't using that technique for this particular painting.
Been more delicate and gentle.
Absolutely.
Next, Columbo shows Max a picture of Louise and explains that the paint on her face has been confirmed to be Barsini red.
Using the world famous Barsini red taste.
Yes, just like on the rag. And the rag itself had paint cleaner on it. Now,
when did he examine the rag? The rag was lying out in Barsini's studio. How does he even know that rag was on the beach?
But I've got a bigger problem.
Or was that a different rag?
Could be, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is more than one rag.
Yeah, so the one that Columbo found when he first visited wasn't the one that was used in the murder.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, you made a big point of it being Columbo's luck to find the murder weapon when he...
Well, no, the method of murder...
I suppose you have to get that big of a clue.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But the problem I've got is that I don't see what this proves. She lived and loved with a painter.
Yeah.
She could have got this... it's perfectly reasonable to say, well, that paint could have arrived on her at any time. She herself could have taken a rag when she was in the house to, wipe down her sweat at the beach and didn't realise it had a bit of paint on it. There's many, many reasonable and possible explanations as to how she got some of Max's paint on her face.
I would say it's certainly arguable.
Columbo then reveals the painting from beneath a blank canvas, the painting of the bar.
Well, he's pulled out this blank canvas, and it appears to all intents and purposes to be a blank canvas, until he rips off the top layer, and there's the painting of Vito Scotti's bar.
And he describes why this is significant.
There's your bar painting, sir. It's that dream language again. Everything under the surface, like you said. Would that mean the painting under the surface? I say you painted it earlier, someplace else. Already painted when you got there, so you could go out the fire escape and do what you had to do.
You could make the argument. I'm sure you will. Lieutenant, those last painful moments with Louise. What if I had chosen a clean rag?
Well, sir, that first day on the beach, it was the contact lenses. One in and one out. That question had to be answered. Even with a clean rag, I would have kept digging. It's like you, sir. You have to finish your painting. We both have to finish our work.
Max inexplicably gives up and admits guilt at this point.
Yeah, I have a point to make here, but I think there's somebody else who can make it better than me.
Will you give me proof, Lieutenant? Where is your proof, Lieutenant?
Why would you break down and concede there? I suppose you can understand his wife and his model have left. He maybe just feels desperate and desolate at this point.
Columbo has nothing.
There's no way to tie him to this crime.
No.
Nothing but very vague circumstantial evidence.
Okay, let's come back to that as we do the episode review then.
We will do.
Before we do that, we have one final moment to discuss in this episode.
We do. Columbo gets to see his portrait.
And what did you think of it?
It was a nice painting. It was a good likeness. I've included it in the picture in the show notes this week.
Yeah, it was very good. I wonder where that painting is now.
That is a very good question, and if anybody knows,
You can
please
get...
let us, or make us aware. I would imagine Peter Falk got it.
Yeah.
That or charity auction of some kind. Those were my first two guesses.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. But if anyone can confirm where that painting is, please do let us know.
It could be that Shera Denise has got it now, given that she would have inherited Falk's estate and was in the episode.
Shera, if you are listening, let us
Well, we
know.
know you do listen, obviously.
Of course.
Get in touch, let us know that you've got the painting. That'd be good.
So, there we have it.
Final thoughts.
What are yours?
I said at the start that I quite enjoyed this episode. I always enjoy the episodes where they have a good setup before the murder, and this was no exception, but the stuff with the dreams was stupid, and it didn't help that there was no other actual detecting going on.
No, it was a flimsy episode. I think it was based more around these new techniques and this new production, and the charisma, I suppose, of the killer, and the interplay with these different the different actresses. So it was interesting. It was engaging. For me, it's not an episode that I can or ever do go back to on a regular basis. I only now really catch it if it's on TV and I'm watching it.
It feels to me like an episode where the elements came together in the wrong order. So you had the characters maybe first in the scenario, and then they kind of plugged the clues in at the end, and it didn't work.
Well, what I feel is, I think you're right. I feel like someone has... It's like the story by, so the credit, story by, and they've got the general arc of it. There's this guy who sleeps with these three women, and he kills one, and then it's meant to either be developed more or passed through to the scriptwriter or producers who then work out the specifics, the fine detail, the clues, and they build it all up. So it seems like a story without... It's not had any polish. It's a concept. It's not been implemented as well as it should have been.
But still enjoyable. Lots of good moments, and I would say it was not horrible.
No, it wasn't horrible. But could you be bothered watching it again?
There's some that I would watch it before. It's not like a bottom tier episode, I wouldn't say.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. Having said that, the dream stuff would annoy me, so no, I'm not going to watch it again.
So you may actually, if it was recorded, you might watch it and then skip, fast forward through bits.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I might watch them again because they're quite nicely done, those dream sequences. It's just the annoying.
Yeah, it's forced. The clues aren't subtle enough. It's too contrived, really. I like the fact that they tried something different. I'll give them that. They didn't change Columbo too much. It was more they tried something different with the production, the style, the feel and the vibe of this episode.
I mean, if you're going to include dream interpretation, which is fair enough, there are probably things that can be learned from dreams. You can't do it in such a stupid way as Mon Oncle.
No, not at all. That stuff ain't standing up in court.
I would have said not.
No. The DA will be throwing Columbo's jacket out of his office.
And he'll leave Columbo to be taken off as a slave to rise as Pharaoh's right-hand man. And wait, I'm getting mixed up again.
Production information. 25th of November 1989. 88 minutes according to the DVD, I think. I think IMDb has it at 98.
It's strange, they don't seem to tally at all. I've been using the IMDb times on the show notes, but but the DVD was clearly 88 minutes.
James Frawley, director.
Is this his last one?
His first was Try and Catch Me. It seemed an awful long time ago.
He's crammed a lot in a row. A lot of the last half dozen or dozen episodes have been his.
Robert Sherman was the writer. He died in 1997, aged 70. His only Columbo episode, which is not a surprise. He has also written for MacGyver, Barnaby Jones and Fantasy Island. A couple of bits of trivia. I think I've mentioned before, I'm not sure if you do know, Ian, but Peter Falk was himself a very skilled painter.
There you go. I'm not sure if I've picked that up. Okay.
But yes, that was one of his passions. I think later in his career, certainly after Columbo, I think he could have been found in his studio more often than not.
There you go. Did he do that painting?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
The painting, actually, I don't have the trivia here, but it was done by an art director at Universal or somewhere.
Okay.
Who then rose through the ranks and became quite high up in the studio.
That's quite interesting.
So maybe he owns that himself.
Perhaps.
Patrick Beauchot, we've mentioned before, he is the son of Henry Beauchot, who himself was a famous Belgian psychoanalyst and philosopher.
You say famous Belgian, I think it's an oxymoron, isn't it? It's a well-known joke.
Herve,
Name of famous Belgian.
Herve, Poirot, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
At least one of those isn't real.
Jean-Claude Van Damme is real. Okay, he just can't do the splits as wide as he
used to.
Episode review.
Okay.
I have got an addition to this, Ian.
Uh-huh.
Which I can't believe that I missed for the previous 49 episodes.
Okay. We're changing up. This is keeping things interesting.
Adding something.
This is good because it means we're not stuck in a rut.
It might not always work, but I think
you told me before we started recording.
That's a surprise for yourself, Ian. So, as well as motive clues and gotcha,
okay,
I'd like to quickly discuss alibi. Because that's often something that... Okay, we'll get to it. So, motive.
Self-preservation.
A bit of jealousy and ensuring that someone who has a deep secret does not reveal it.
Yeah.
Alibi. So, do we think his alibi is up to scratch?
It's quite a good alibi.
No, I don't think it is.
Well, it's one of these ones where we've seen them actually fairly recently, like Sex and the Mad Detectives and another, where you're assumed to be somewhere, but no one actually sees you at that time.
If you have a window and no one can see you, you're just, you're in a room.
Yeah, but you've got a guy who can testify to a blank canvas becoming a painting.
Sure, but that's easy to disprove as well. You could have painted that at any time.
So where's the blank canvas?
What do you mean?
The blank canvas that was over the top of it. You didn't find that.
Taking it away with them. Yeah, I think if you're saying you're being somewhere and you've got a window with a fire escape, you can't be relying on that. When I think about alibis, if you think about the more convoluted ones, you've got playback with the cameras, and these are different alibis which would be really, really hard to set up and work out. Ones that you think, that would fool a cop. You'd have to be a super cop like Columbo to pick up on it.
Yep.
But your average cop, even here, will speak to Vito, who will say, he was up in that room, and they'll say, did you see him for, the period of 2 hours? And he'll say, no. And then he will go up to the room and he'll say, there's a window with a fire escape. That's not an airtight alibi at all. You could easily have got out there and committed the crime. So I think this is a very weak alibi in comparison to some of the more... Again, you think about the Bye Bye Sky High.
Yep.
So there are stronger ones, and this is I think is a weak one.
Fair enough. I think it's a better one than I Was at Home by Myself.
You say that, but often in shows, that's actually not too bad an alibi. And the reason why is that people assume that if you were guilty in falsifying an alibi, you would come up with something better. So actually it can look better for you if you say, I don't have an alibi, because then you'd be presumed not to be trying to cover something up.
Maybe.
Clues. I'll run through them. The contact lenses, the blocked tap, the window exit, the lifeguard exam, lack of paint on the easel, the newspaper articles, the paint and the cleaner on the rag, and obviously the tapes revealing different things.
Yeah.
Anything else?
The monocle on the photograph.
Yep. And then we have the gotcha. The revelation of the painting to show that it could have been painted earlier.
Yeah.
Poor.
There wasn't any evidence involved in the gotcha, so it's hard to
Yeah.
Again, you said this not that long ago. It's disproved the alibi.
But that's all.
I think last week you said the same thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, okay, you can disprove his alibi, but we've already said it's not a great alibi, or you've already said it's not a great alibi.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does that achieve?
Nothing. What's it good for?
What else is there?
There's nothing. It's he collapsed here, and he'd no need to because Columbo had zero on him. A lot of suspicion, but nothing that stands up in court, in my opinion.
It would be a tricky one to prosecute.
Yeah. Well, we can, again, at the end of the season, we can chat a little bit more about this.
Back to a longer season for possibly the last time in our run.
I think so, yeah. Next week, Columbo cries wolf.
I think it's the one with the gladiators, isn't it?
Yes.
Looking forward to that. John Fashanu.
That's the British version of the
American
Gladiator TV show, yeah. People won't know who Wolf or John Fashanu is, Ian.
I'm sure they had crossovers with American Gladiators. Still know who Wolf was.
Okay, that's us then, I think.
Yep, just the usual sign off, Please keep contributing on ColumboPodcast.com. We open a new post for every episode, and you're more than welcome to join in the chat with a bunch of really good Columbo fans there. Even if you don't agree with us.
Especially if you don't agree with us.
Yeah, we like good discussion. It would be pretty dull if we all agreed every time. The other thing you can do to contribute is join us on Facebook or on Twitter, social media channels where we have a presence, and we like to hear from you all there. And the one big thing, if you could subscribe, rate, review on iTunes, even if it's not your podcast app of choice, it makes a big difference because that's the primary one, and we would appreciate that support.
Brilliant. Okay, that's us for this week. We shall see you all next week.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Columbo Podcast from Heard Yet Media.